3:47 in the morning. The sound cuts through the Manhattan penthouse like a blade. A baby's cry, raw and exhausted, stretching into its 11th hour. Julian Blackwell, billionaire hedge fund CEO, stands in his $25 million nursery, holding his 4-month-old son, Ethan. The baby's face is purple, his cries transformed from angry to desperate to something worse. Weak whimpers of a body surrendering. "I've tried everything," Nanny Claudia whispers, 20 years of experience failing her. Dr. Ross's voice crackles through the speakerphone. "It's colic. Babies cry. Wait until morning." In the hallway, 19-year-old Elijah Thompson pauses, mop in hand. He wears his mother's oversized cleaning uniform, chemical-stained and threadbare. He hears something in that cry no one else does. A frequency. A pattern. A biological alarm screaming danger. Elijah sets down the mop. What he's about to do could get his mother fired, get them arrested. But that baby is dying, and he's the only one who can save him. 432. Park Avenue isn't just a building, it's a monument to wealth. $95 million penthouses stacked like layers of privilege. Residents include tech CEOs, hedge fund managers, old money dynasties whose names appear on museum wings. The marble lobby gleams under chandeliers that cost more than most Americans earn in a lifetime. The cleaning staff enters through the service entrance on 56th Street. Badge scan. Elevator 2B, the one reserved for help. It smells like industrial cleaner and decades of invisible labor. Not like the resident elevators with their mahogany panels and subtle vanilla scent pumped through hidden vents. Lorraine Thompson has cleaned these floors for 6 years. 43 years old, breast cancer survivor still paying off $180,000 in medical debt. She works 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. here, then 9 to 5 at a midtown office building. 2 jobs, 16-hour days. All so her son might have a future different from hers. Her son Elijah started helping 3 months ago. The future she worked for has vanished, but she doesn't speak of it. Not to the other cleaners. Not to her sister back in Baltimore. The pain lives in a shoebox under her bed. Newspaper clippings, programs, photographs of a boy who was going to be someone. Tonight, they work at the penthouse level, Julian Blackwell's unit. The widower whose wife died 9 months ago during an emergency C-section that saved the baby but couldn't save her. The building's housekeeping supervisor warned them, "He's difficult, demanding. Hasn't learned any staff names in the 18 months he's lived here. Treats service workers like furniture that occasionally malfunctions." Elijah follows his mother through the service corridor, carrying the mop bucket. He's thin, too thin from skipping meals to stretch grocery money. The uniform hangs loose on his frame. At 19, he should be finishing sophomore year somewhere. Instead, he's here, invisible, pushing dirty water across floors worth $800 per square foot of Calicotta marble. In his backpack, a 49-key portable MIDI keyboard bought for $80. Noise-canceling earbuds held together with electrical tape. A folded, yellowing acceptance letter he can't throw away. Sheet music covered in annotations, numbers, frequencies, clinical notes in cramped handwriting that fills every margin. The world sees a dropout, a failure. That kid who couldn't hack it. Lorraine's son, the one she doesn't talk about at church anymore because the questions hurt too much. Where's he now? Still in school? What's he studying? The truth lives in YouTube algorithms and archived newspaper articles that fewer people click each year. A 12-year-old boy at Carnegie Hall, small hands moving across keys with impossible grace. Standing ovation. 2.1 million views in. Comments in 7 languages calling him a prodigy, a genius, blessed. That was 7 years ago. In the algorithm's memory, he's frozen at 12 forever, suspended in that moment before everything collapses. Julian Blackwell knows none of this. He's 42, self-made in the way rich men claim when they've forgotten the state schools and student loans that started them. $840 million in assets. Built a hedge fund from his Stanford dorm room, rode the crypto wave, got out before the crash. Married Catherine, old Boston money, effortless grace, who softened his sharper edges and taught him which fork to use at the events where real power gathered. Catherine died on a surgical table while he stood outside, helpless, listening to monitors scream. Their son survived. Julian hasn't figured out how to hold him without feeling like he's holding evidence of what he lost. He threw himself back into work 3 weeks after the funeral, closed a $400 million deal from the hospital parking lot. Work he understands. Markets, leverage, calculated risk. But a 4-month-old infant who won't stop crying? That's a problem money should solve, but doesn't. Nanny Claudia came with references from 3 royal families, 20 years raising elite children into elite adults. She believes in schedules, boundaries, training infants to self-soothe. Ethan's crying bothers her not because she's concerned, but because it represents failure. In 20 years, she's never failed. Dr. Amanda Ross is Manhattan's most sought-after pediatrician. $800 for a house call, $300 for phone consultations. She manages the children of people whose names trend on Twitter. Tonight she's juggling 15 emergencies, mostly anxious parents who panic at every sniffle. She's exhausted, defaulting to standard protocols, trusting her experience over careful assessment. None of them, not Julian with his billions, not Claudia with her credentials, not Dr. Ross with her Yale medical degree, hear what Elijah hears. A baby's nervous system collapses in real time, 1:15 in the morning, 6 hours before the crisis. Elijah scrubs the kitchen counters, Calicotta marble, $800 per square foot. His hands move in practiced circles, erasing fingerprints, water spots, evidence that people live here. Through the walls, he hears it. Ethan's cry shifts. Subtle. Most people wouldn't notice. But Elijah's ears are trained instruments, capable of hearing when a note goes sharp by fractions. The cry changes from hunger cry, rhythmic, demanding, to pain cry. Sharp, irregular. The intervals between wails shortening, losing pattern. Elijah pauses, sponge hovering. Claudia emerges from the nursery, posture sagging. Gray roots show at her hairline, hands trembling as she fills a bottle. Still won't settle. I've tried everything. Bottle, nappy change, swaddle, white noise. Elijah hesitates. The rule is clear. Be invisible. Don't speak unless spoken to. But that cry. Ma'am, he says quietly. Can I? No. Claudia's voice cuts sharp. Her exhaustion has stripped away professional veneer. Please just finish the kitchen. We have professionals handling this. Translation, you're the help. Stay in your lane. Elijah's jaw tightens. He returns to scrubbing, but his ears track every sound. The white noise machine's static. Claudia's murmured attempts. Ethan's cries climbing higher, more desperate. 2:33 a.m. The crying intensifies. Julian's voice, frustrated, cracking. I'm paying you $4,000 a week, Claudia. Make him stop. Sir, I'm trying everything. Then try harder. I have a conference call in 4 hours worth $400 million. I need silence. Footsteps. Julian appears in the kitchen doorway, still wearing yesterday's suit, tie loosened, hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes. His $120,000 watch catches light as he rakes his hand through his hair. He sees Elijah the way people see furniture. Notices, then dismisses. Lorraine appears beside her son, touches his elbow. Warning. Baby, don't, she whispers. I know that look. Don't. Mama, that baby, it is not our business. We can't afford to get involved. Please. Elijah's hands clench. Chemical water drips between his fingers. Every instinct screams that this child needs help. But his mother needs this job. I need health insurance. Needs the paycheck covering rent. He nods, swallows, returns to scrubbing. 3:15 a.m. Dr. Ross's voice crackles through Julian's speakerphone, tinny and impatient. Julian, I've told you 3 times. It's colic. Ethan is fed, clean, safe. Babies cry. It's what they do. For 11 hours? Some babies are more challenging. Have Claudia try gripe water. Keep him upright after feeding. Call me in the morning if it persists. Amanda, this doesn't feel normal. Julian. Dr. Ross's authority sharpens. I've been a pediatrician for 20 years. I've seen thousands of colicky babies. Trust me, he's fine. You're a new father, alone, grieving. Your anxiety is normal too. Get some sleep. Everything looks worse at 3 a.m. Click. Silence except for Ethan's weakening cries. Elijah, mopping outside the nursery, freezes. He knows that cry pattern, studied it in clinical observation, wrote 15 pages analyzing infant distress signals. Memory, Professor Martinez's classroom at Juilliard, spring 2021. Students hunched over laptops, analyzing audio files. Martinez plays recording 23B. Note the frequency shift. This 4-month-old is experiencing severe distress combined with exhaustion-induced dysregulation. The cry moves from 480 Hz to 520. The vagal nerve is compromised. Standard soothing fails. You need auditory intervention, 432 Hz combined with rhythmic frequencies matching pre-distress heart rate. 17-year-old Elijah's hand shoots up. What happens without intervention? Martinez's expression sobers. Seizure risk increases after 12 hours of sustained crying. The body's regulatory systems fail. It's rare, but infants have died from untreated regulatory distress. Present moment. Elijah's breath catches. That's what he's hearing. Ethan doesn't have colic. He has infant regulatory disorder. His nervous system stuck in fight or flight. His 4-month-old body can't reset itself. Without intervention, he could seize. Or worse. Elijah sets down the mop, hands shaking. 3 years of silence, of swallowing knowledge, of being invisible. It collides with the reality of a dying baby 15 feet away. He walks to the nursery door, knocks softly. Claudia opens it, eyes red. What? Ma'am, I know about babies. I studied infant development. I can help. You're 19 years old. Condescension drips. I've done this for 20 years. I don't need advice from the cleaning boy. Please, just listen. Julian appears behind Claudia, wild-eyed, desperate, furious. What's going on? Sir, the cleaning staff is... I can hear him, Elijah interrupts, voice shaking. The frequency of his cry indicates vagal nerve compromise. Frequency! Julian's face twists between disbelief and rage. Are you serious? You're wearing a cleaning uniform, which means you're not a doctor, not a nurse, not anyone whose opinion matters here. Sir, I studied music therapy for infants at Juilliard. You studied? Julian steps forward, height, fury, panic focused on this teenager. Let me be clear. You're here to clean. My son is my responsibility. I've consulted with a real doctor, someone with actual credentials, who assured me he's fine. Now do the job you're qualified to do. Mr. Blackwell, please, your son is... Lorraine! Julian's voice cracks like a whip. Lorraine appears, horror dawning. Elijah. Control your son or you're both fired. Do you understand? Both. Fired. Tonight. The words land like blows. Lorraine grabs Elijah's arm, fingers digging. Come here. Now. But Mama, now. Elijah backs away, tears burning. In the nursery, Ethan's cries weaken. Not improvement. A body giving up. In the service hallway, Lorraine grips his shoulders. Baby, I know you want to help, but we can't afford this. I'll lose this job. We'll lose the apartment. Your college fund is gone for my treatments. We have nothing left except this. Mama, that baby could die. And we could end up homeless. Lorraine's voice breaks. Eyes fill. I'm sorry. So sorry. But we have to survive. Please. Just finish the shift. Stay quiet. Be invisible. Elijah sobs into his mother's shoulder. This is what poverty does. It takes your voice, your dignity, your right to know something. Because when you're poor, your knowledge doesn't count. You can have genius training. But if you're wearing the wrong uniform, born into the wrong tax bracket, you're nobody. You're invisible. And being invisible means watching someone die while staying silent. 4:02 a.m. Elijah sits in the service hallway, back against the wall, head in his hands. He's supposed to be mopping the corridors on floor 69, but he can't move. Ethan's cries echo through the ventilation system. Weaker now. More spaced out. That's worse. He closes his eyes. His training kicks in. Involuntary, automatic, impossible to shut off. Analysis mode. Cry frequency, 520 to 540 Hertz. Elevated, severe distress. Pattern, irregular intervals. 3 seconds cry, 1.5 seconds pause, 4 seconds cry, 0.8 seconds pause. No rhythm, no regulation. Vocal cord strain. Hoarseness developing. Sign of prolonged crying beyond 10 hours. Respiratory pattern. Shallow, rapid. Hyperventilation indicators present. Diagnosis from 3 years of clinical training crystallizes. Infant regulatory disorder plus exhaustion-induced dysregulation. Prognosis if untreated. Next 30 to 60 minutes, vagal nerve collapse likely. Following 1 to 2 hours, risk of infant seizure increases exponentially. Potential complications include aspiration, respiratory failure, cardiac stress. Standard medical treatment requires IV fluids, sedatives, hospital monitoring. But ambulance response time in a blizzard is 20 to 30 minutes, plus emergency room wait time. Too slow. Alternative treatment exists. Music therapy protocol. 432 Hz base frequency for cortisol reduction. Layered with the infant's pre-distress heart rate rhythm, approximately 120 beats per minute. Combined with specific classical pieces, Mozart's Lullaby in modified key. Duration 8 to 12 minutes for full parasympathetic reset. Success rate in clinical trials, 87%. Elijah's eyes snap open. He knows exactly what to do, but he's just the cleaning boy. He pulls out his phone, opens voice memos, hits record. December 15th, 4:07 a.m. My name is Elijah Thompson. I'm 19 years old. I'm about to do something that might get me arrested, but if I don't, a baby might die, and I'll have to live with that forever. His voice shakes, but steadies. For the record, I'm not crazy. I'm not delusional. I attended Juilliard pre-college from age 14 to 17. I specialized in music therapy for neonatal development under Professor Yolanda Martinez. I have 340 hours of clinical observation. I've studied over 2,000 cases of infant distress. I know what I'm hearing, and I know how to fix it. He takes a breath. Julian Blackwell, if you're listening to this later, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for disobeying you. I'm sorry for breaking into your home. I'm sorry for defying your authority. But I'm not sorry for saving your son. He stops recording, saves it, texts it to his own email as backup. Then he opens his backpack and pulls out his portable keyboard. Lorraine appears at the end of the hallway. Elijah, what are you doing? What I was trained to do. Baby, they'll call the police. Let them. His voice is steady now. Mama, you raised me to be someone who helps people. You worked 3 jobs so I could learn music. You didn't do that so I could mop floors and stay silent while a baby dies. You did that so I could be someone. And maybe I failed you by dropping out. Maybe I'm not who you wanted me to be. But tonight, I'm going to be who I was trained to be. Lorraine's eyes fill with tears. She doesn't stop him. 4:11 a.m. The nursery door is locked. Claudia's doing, keeping distractions out. Elijah tries the handle. Locked. He looks at the door. High-quality solid wood. No breaking it quietly. Then he remembers. The service panel. Every luxury apartment has them. Small access doors for maintenance workers to reach pipes, wires, HVAC systems without disturbing residents. He finds it in the hallway. Nursery HVAC access. Opens the panel. Inside is a narrow crawl space, barely 2 feet wide. Pipes, wires, dust, thick as carpet. He squeezes through, keyboard strapped to his back. The space is suffocating. Dark. He army crawls 15 feet, following the sound of crying. Finally, a vent grate. He presses his face to it. Below, the nursery. Claudia slumped in a chair, asleep from exhaustion. Ethan in the crib, barely crying now, just weak, broken whimpers. Elijah carefully unscrews the grate from inside, removes it, lowers himself down silently. His feet touch the carpet. He's in. Claudia doesn't wake. Elijah approaches the crib. His heart hammers so hard he's sure it'll wake her. Ethan looks up at him with exhausted, unfocused eyes. 4 months old, already defeated by a body that won't stop hurting. Elijah whispers, "Hey, baby. I'm here. I'm going to fix this." He pulls out his keyboard, sets it on the dresser, kneels beside the crib. This is the moment everything changes. This is the moment Elijah Thompson stops being invisible. 4:14 a.m. Elijah sets up quickly, hands moving with practiced precision born from 10,000 hours of preparation. Portable keyboard on the dresser, phone propped up to record, evidence just in case. Volume low enough not to wake Claudia, loud enough for Ethan to hear clearly. He kneels beside the crib. Ethan's eyes track him weakly, pupils dilated from stress hormones flooding his tiny system. "Hey, sweet boy," Elijah whispers. "You're so tired, aren't you? You've been trying so hard to tell everyone something's wrong. I hear you. I understand." He gently places one hand on Ethan's chest, not lifting, not disturbing, just contact, grounding. The baby's heartbeat under his palm races, 180 beats per minute. Dangerous for a 4-month-old, should be 120 at rest. Okay, here we go. Phase 1, parasympathetic activation, minutes 0 to 3. Elijah plays a single note. A at 432 hertz. Not the standard A at 440 hertz that modern music uses, but 432, the healing frequency used in music therapy, proven in double-blind studies to reduce cortisol and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. He holds the note, lets it vibrate through the room, through the air molecules, through the baby's body at a cellular level. Ethan's eyes widen slightly. His breathing shifts, still fast, but no longer erratic. The sound confuses his nervous system in the best way. His brain, stuck in panic mode for 11 hours, receives new information. Frequency, pattern, safety. Elijah adds a second note. E at 324 hertz, a fifth below. The two notes create harmonic resonance. The sound waves literally vibrate the air in patterns that mimic a resting heartbeat. Ancient, primal. The frequency mothers hum without knowing why. Biological response occurs immediately. Ethan's vagal nerve begins receiving signal. Safety, calm, rest. His cortisol levels start dropping. His breathing slows from 60 breaths per minute to 50. Phase 2, heart rate synchronization, minutes 3 to 6. Elijah begins playing rhythm, 120 beats per minute. Target heart rate for a calm, resting 4-month-old. He plays a simple pattern, Mozart's lullaby, but modified. Transposed to a different key, one that aligns with the 432 hertz bass frequency. Every note chosen for its mathematical relationship to human biology. The rhythm is hypnotic, steady, like a mother's heartbeat heard from inside the womb. like the universe breathing. Biological response. Ethan's heart rate begins to synchronize with the music, a phenomenon called rhythmic entertainment. His autonomic nervous system, desperate for regulation, latches onto the external rhythm like a drowning person grabbing a rope. 180 beats per minute, 170, 160, 150. His eyes start to droop. Claudia stirs in her chair but doesn't wake. Phase 3, deep regulation. Minutes 6 to 12. Elijah adds complexity now. His fingers move across keys with muscle memory of 10,000 hours. Hours his mother paid for with double shifts and skipped meals. Hours that built neural pathways in his brain that will never disappear, no matter how many floors he mops. He layers in Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, the piece he performed at Carnegie Hall at age 12, but slowed down, simplified, transposed, woven together with Mozart Lullaby, all at 432 Hz bass frequency. The music is impossibly beautiful, haunting. It sounds like a mother's voice, a heartbeat, a promise of safety all woven together. Mathematics made into emotion, science made into art. Biological response cascades. Ethan's heart rate drops to 130 beats per minute. Safe zone. His breathing slows to 35 breaths per minute. Normal. His crying stops completely. His eyes close. His tiny fists unclench for the first time in hours. After 9 minutes of continuous play, Ethan falls asleep. Not the fitful, exhausted collapse of before. Real sleep. Restorative. Peaceful. His chest rises and falls in perfect rhythm. His face smooths. The purple tint fades from his skin. Elijah keeps playing for 3 more minutes to ensure deep sleep, then slowly, carefully, lets the final note fade into silence. Blessed, profound silence. He sits back on his heels, tears streaming down his face. His hands shake, adrenaline and relief and terror mixing in his bloodstream. It worked. 4:27 a.m. Claudia's eyes snap open. For 3 seconds, she's disoriented, dreams mixing with reality. Then she realizes silence. She leaps up, panicked, rushes to the crib expecting the worst. Ethan sleeps peacefully, chest rising and falling, color returned to his cheeks, face serene. Then she sees Elijah, standing beside the crib, keyboard in hand, face wet with tears. "What the hell are you doing in here?" Claudia's scream tears through the apartment like a siren. Elijah holds up his hands. "Please, listen. How did you get in? You broke in. You—" She grabs her phone. "I'm calling the police." "He's sleeping," Elijah says quietly. "Look at him." Claudia looks. Ethan is indeed sleeping, the first real sleep in 14 hours, deep, restorative, peaceful. What did you do to him?" "I played music. That's all. Music therapy. It resets the nervous system when— Security! Claudia screams into the hallway. Julian! Julian bursts through the door, wild-eyed, shirt untucked, face haggard. What's happening? He sees Elijah. His face goes from confusion to rage in half a second. You! His voice is deadly quiet. Rage compressed into 2 syllables. You broke into my son's room. Sir, I can explain. Explain! Julian pulls out his phone. I'm calling 911. Breaking and entering. Trespassing. You were alone with my infant son. That's assault in New York State. You're going to jail. Do you understand? Jail. I didn't assault anyone. I played music. You entered my home without permission. You were alone with my child. Julian's hand trembles as he dials. You're done. Your mother's done. I'm pressing full charges. I'm going to make sure you never work in this city again. I'll make sure you never work anywhere. Do you understand what I can do to you? Do you have any idea who I am? Yes. Elijah's voice is suddenly calm, the storm inside him settling into cold clarity. You're a billionaire who almost let his son die because you were too arrogant to listen to the one person who could help. Julian's face goes white. What did you just say to me? Lorraine bursts into the room, horrified. Elijah, oh my God. Mama, I'm sorry. Elijah's voice stays steady. But I did the right thing. You broke into my home, Julian roars. Yes, I did. Because your son was dying and you wouldn't listen. He wasn't dying. He had colic. He had infant regulatory disorder. Elijah's voice turns clinical now, detached, every word precise. His nervous system was stuck in sympathetic overdrive. His vagal nerve was compromised. If I hadn't intervened, he would have had a seizure within the next hour. Possibly respiratory failure. Possibly cardiac arrest. Babies die from this, Mr. Blackwell. Not often, but they do. You're 19 years old. You don't know what you're talking about. You're right. I'm 19. I'm also a Juilliard-trained music therapist with 340 hours of clinical observation in neonatal development. I've studied over 2,000 cases of infant distress. I can identify 17 different types of infant cries by frequency analysis alone. And tonight, I diagnosed your son correctly while your $800 an hour pediatrician told you to go to sleep. Julian falters. Juilliard? You? Elijah pulls out his phone, opens his video folder with shaking hands. Here. He holds it up, screen glowing in the dim nursery. This is me at Carnegie Hall, age 12. 2 million views. Here's my Juilliard acceptance letter. Here are my clinical observation logs. Here's a letter of recommendation from Professor Yolanda Martinez, head of the music therapy department. Here's my research paper on frequency-based parasympathetic activation in colicky infants. I presented it at the National Music Therapy Conference in 2021. I was 16. Julian stares at the screen, speechless. His finger hovers over the 9 on his phone, but he doesn't press it. Claudia moves closer, looking over Julian's shoulder. Her expression shifts from anger to confusion to something like awe. I'm not just the cleaning boy, Mr. Blackwell. I was someone. I was someone who could have changed pediatric medicine. But my mom got cancer. And we're poor. So I gave it all up. And now I clean your floors. But that doesn't mean I forgot everything I learned. It doesn't mean my brain stopped working. It just means you stopped seeing me as human. Silence fills the nursery except for Ethan's soft, peaceful breathing. Claudia pulls out her own phone, types into Google with trembling fingers, Elijah Thompson pianist Carnegie Hall. The results flood her screen. New York Times 2017. 12-year-old pianist stuns Carnegie Hall audience with Chopin performance. Juilliard News 2019. Pre-college student Elijah Thompson. Accepted early to undergraduate program, specializing in music therapy. Music therapy. Today, 2021. Teen researcher presents groundbreaking study on infant frequency response at national conference. YouTube video. Elijah Thompson, Carnegie Hall performance, Nocturne in E-flat major. 2.1 million views. Claudia clicks the video, turns up the volume slightly. A 12-year-old boy appears on screen. Small for his age, wearing a white shirt and black pants that someone clearly bought too big so he could grow into them. He sits at a Steinway grand piano that seems enormous compared to his frame. He places his hands on the keys and begins to play. Even through tinny phone speakers, the music is transcendent. Every note is perfect. Not technically perfect, beyond that. Emotionally perfect. A 12-year-old child playing with the depth of someone who's lived 80 years. Chopin would have wept. Claudia's hand flies to her mouth. Oh my God. Julian grabs the phone, watches. His expression crumbles with each passing measure. On screen, young Elijah plays the exact same piece he just performed for Ethan. The same notes, the same phrasing, the same soul-deep understanding of how sound becomes healing. The video ends with a standing ovation. The camera catches young Elijah's face, overwhelmed, tears in his eyes, bowing awkwardly like he doesn't quite believe this is real. Comments scroll below. This child is not human. This is angelic. I'm a concert pianist with 30 years experience. This 12-year-old plays better than I ever will. Where is he now? Someone please tell me he's still playing. Julian looks from the phone to Elijah, back to the phone, back to Elijah. That's... His voice breaks. That's the music you just played. For my son. Yes, Elijah says quietly. I've been playing that piece since I was 10. It's muscle memory now. I could play it in my sleep. Claudia keeps scrolling, finds an academic paper. Mr. Blackwell, look at this. Title: Frequency-Based Parasympathetic Activation in Colicky Infants, a Clinical Study. Author: Elijah L. Thompson. Supervisor: Professor Yolanda Martinez, Juilliard School. Presented at National Music Therapy Association Conference, 2021. Abstract: This study examines the efficacy of 432 Hz-based musical intervention in treating infant regulatory disorder. Over 18 months, 47 infants aged 2 to 6 months, presenting with prolonged crying episodes, 6+ hours, were treated with frequency-specific auditory protocols. Results showed an 87% success rate in achieving parasympathetic nervous system reset within 15 minutes of intervention, compared to 23% success rate with standard soothing methods. Julian reads it 3 times. His hands shake. 47 infants, he whispers. You've done this 47 times. In clinical settings, yes, under supervision. And tonight? You did it alone. In the dark. In a stranger's apartment, under threat of arrest. Elijah nods. Julian's phone rings. He answers on autopilot. Julian Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell, this is Dr. Amanda Ross. I've been thinking about our conversation. I'd like to come by first thing in the morning to examine Ethan properly. The crying you described, 11 hours is longer than I initially realized, and I want to rule out... He's asleep, Julian interrupts. What? He's asleep. Peaceful sleep. For the first time in 14 hours. How? What happened? Julian looks at Elijah, really looks at him for the first time. Not at the uniform, not at the skin color, not at the assumptions, at the person. Someone who actually knew what they were doing helped him. He hangs up. Lorraine has been standing in the doorway, silent, tears streaming down her face. She watched her son be humiliated, watched him risk everything, watched him reveal the truth she's kept buried in a shoebox for 3 years. Julian turns to her. Did you know? About your son? Of course I knew. Lorraine's voice is thick with emotion, with pride, with grief. I'm his mother. She walks to her work bag, canvas, worn, filled with cleaning supplies. From the bottom, beneath spray bottles and rags, she pulls out a shoebox. Remove the lid with trembling hands. Inside, newspaper clippings yellowed at the edges. Concert programs, awards, certificates, photographs. She hands them to Julian one by one. New York Youth Piano Competition, first place, Elijah Thompson, age 7. Lincoln Center Rising Stars Award, Elijah Thompson, age 10. Juilliard Pre-College Early Acceptance, Elijah Thompson, age 14. Photograph. Young Elijah on stage, holding a trophy bigger than his torso, beaming with gap-toothed joy. Photograph. Elijah with an elderly woman at a piano, his grandmother, Lorraine's mother, who taught him his first scales before she died. Photograph. Elijah in a hospital, wearing a volunteer badge, sitting with an infant in NICU, holding the baby with the careful tenderness of someone who understands fragility. Lorraine's hands shake as she holds each one. My baby was going to change the world. And then I got sick, and he gave it all up. For me. Why didn't you tell anyone? Julian's voice is raw, stripped of its earlier fury. Who would listen? Lorraine meets his eyes. We're the help, Mr. Blackwell. We're invisible. 5:03 a.m. Just as Julian is processing everything, as the reality of what he almost destroyed settles into his bones, Ethan makes a sound. Not a cry. Worse. A weak, gasping wheeze. Mechanical. Wrong. Everyone's heads snap toward the crib. Ethan's body is rigid. His back arches. His face turns blue. His eyes roll back. Seizure! Elijah screams. He's at the crib in half a second, his training overriding everything else. Fear, exhaustion, the knowledge that touching this baby again could send him to prison. Claudia, call 911 now! Tell them infant seizure, 4 months old, possible status epilepticus. Claudia freezes, paralyzed by shock and sleep deprivation. Call them! Elijah roars. Claudia's hands fumble with her phone, finally dialing. Elijah gently turns Ethan on his side, recovery position, preventing aspiration if he vomits. The baby's little body convulses, muscles seizing, brain misfiring. Every parent's nightmare was made real. Julian, I need you to time this. How many seconds is he seizing? Julian can barely speak. I don't... Time it! Elijah's voice cuts through panic like a scalpel. Look at your watch! Count, now! Julian looks at his $120,000 Patek Philippe. Starting, now. 15 seconds. 20 seconds. 30 seconds. It's not stopping, Julian's voice breaks. Why isn't it stopping? Elijah's mind races. He's seen this once before during clinical observation. Post-treatment seizure rebound. When an infant is in extreme distress for too long, sometimes the nervous system rebounds even after successful intervention. The music therapy worked, but it was temporary. Ethan's body is still in crisis mode. The underlying cause remains. He needs more than music now. He needs medical intervention. But the ambulance is at least 8 to 10 minutes away in a blizzard. 45 seconds. 50 seconds. If a seizure lasts longer than 60 seconds, it becomes status epilepticus. Life-threatening. Brain damage. Death. Elijah makes a split-second decision. I need honey, salt, and warm water. Now! What? Julian stares at him like he's lost his mind. Emergency glucose and electrolyte solution. His blood sugar crashed from the extended crying. That's what's causing the seizure. Move! Lorraine sprints to the kitchen. 55 seconds, 58 seconds, 60 seconds. The seizure continues. Ethan's lips turn darker blue. His breathing is shallow, irregular. Elijah's voice stays steady despite terror flooding every cell. Ethan, stay with me. Come on, baby. Stay with me. Lorraine returns with a small bowl. Honey dissolved in warm water, pinch of salt mixed in. Hands shaking so badly the liquid sloshes. Elijah dips his pinky finger in the solution, carefully with the precision of someone who's practiced this exact motion in clinical settings, places it on Ethan's tongue. Lateral side, minimal volume, monitoring swallow reflex with his other hand on the baby's throat. Come on, baby, swallow, just a little. Come on. Biological mechanism, low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, can trigger seizures, especially in infants who've been crying for extended periods, burning through glucose reserves their tiny bodies can't replenish. Honey equals fast-acting glucose. Salt equals sodium to stabilize neuronal firing. Warm water helps absorption. A tiny drop of the solution enters Ethan's mouth. His swallow reflex activates automatically. 68 seconds. 70 seconds. The seizure slows. The rigidity in Ethan's body begins to release. 75 seconds. Stops. Ethan gasps. His eyes flutter. His body goes limp, not the limpness of death, but of exhaustion, of a nervous system finally resetting. He's breathing, shallow but steady. Elijah sobs with relief. His whole body shakes. He keeps his hand on Ethan's chest, feeling the heartbeat, making sure it stays steady. 5:11 a.m. Two paramedics burst through the door, gear in hand, faces sharp with focus. 4-month-old seizure, called in 8 minutes ago. Where's the patient? Here. Elijah steps aside. The lead paramedic, a woman in her 40s, name tag reading J. Rivera, immediately begins assessment. Gloved hands moving with practiced efficiency. Penlight checking pupil response. Fingers on pulse points. Vitals. Heart rate 145, respiratory rate 38, oxygen saturation 94%, post-ictal state. How long was the seizure? 75 seconds, Julian says, voice hollow. Did you administer anything? I did. Elijah's voice is shaking but clear. Emergency oral glucose solution, honey, salt, water, approximately 2 milliliters. Rivera looks up sharply, studies Elijah, the uniform, the red eyes, the trembling hands. Who are you? Are you medical? I'm trained in music therapy, neonatal development. I have clinical observation experience. You gave glucose during an active seizure? Rivera's voice is sharp, professional concern. That's incredibly dangerous if administered incorrectly. Aspiration risk. I placed it on the tongue, lateral side, minimal volume, with head in the recovery position, Elijah rattles off. I monitored my swallow reflex, no aspiration. Oh, Rivera stares at him, then at Ethan, then back at Elijah. That's exactly the correct protocol. Where did you learn that? Juilliard, music therapy program. We did 200 hours of clinical observation in NICU and pediatric units. The second paramedic, young, male, skeptical, scoffs. Music therapy? You played him a lullaby and gave him honey water? No, Elijah says quietly, exhaustion making his words slower. I performed a frequency-based parasympathetic reset protocol using 432 Hz base frequency combined with rhythmic entrainment at 120 beats per minute, sustained over 12 minutes, to reverse infant regulatory disorder. The seizure was post-treatment rebound due to prolonged distress-induced hypoglycemia. The glucose solution stabilized his blood sugar and terminated the seizure. Both paramedics stare at him. Rivera slowly nods, respect dawning in her eyes. That's real medicine. That's published research. I've read about frequency-based intervention. It's cutting edge. It worked, Elijah says, until it didn't. That's why you're here. Rivera begins preparing Ethan for transport, portable oxygen, warming blankets, monitor leads. We're taking him to Mount Sinai. Pediatric neurology will want to see him. Mr. Blackwell, you can ride with us. Wait, the male paramedic says. He's looking at his phone, swiping through search results. Elijah Thompson? Are you Elijah Thompson? Carnegie Hall, Juilliard? Elijah nods, exhausted beyond words. Holy shit. My daughter watches your YouTube videos. You're like a legend. We thought you disappeared. I did, Elijah says quietly. I had to. Rivera looks at Lorraine, at Elijah's cleaning uniform, at the backpack with the cheap keyboard visible inside. Understanding dawns on her face. Complete picture assembling. Prodigy. Poverty. Sacrifice. You're the cleaning staff, she says softly. You were here working, and you saved this baby. I tried, Elijah whispers. You succeeded, Rivera corrects, voice firm. If you hadn't intervened, this child would be in critical condition right now. Maybe worse. You bought him time. You stabilized him. You did everything right. Elijah's legs give out. He sinks to the floor, sobbing. Lorraine wraps her arms around her son, holds him like she did when he was small, when the world seemed full of possibility instead of impossible choices. 5:28 a.m., Mount Sinai Hospital, Pediatric Emergency Waiting Room. Julian sits in a plastic chair, still wearing his wrinkled suit, watching doctors rush Ethan through doors marked Staff Only. Claudia sits beside him, silent. Lorraine and Elijah sit across from them. 4 people separated by an invisible wall that's beginning to crack. After 20 minutes, a doctor emerges. Dr. Sarah Kim, pediatric neurologist. 40-something, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Blackwell, your son is stable. Julian's breath releases in a rush. Dr. Kim continues. We've run a full panel. EEG, blood work, metabolic screening. He had a hypoglycemic seizure secondary to prolonged distress. Someone gave him an emergency glucose solution? He did. Julian points at Elijah. Dr. Kim looks at Elijah, sees the cleaning uniform, and her expression flickers with surprise. Are you EMT trained? No, music therapy. I have a clinical observation background. Well, you saved his life. If that seizure had continued another 30 seconds, we'd be looking at potential brain damage. The glucose solution stopped it. Julian's face crumbles. Oh my God. Dr. Kim continues. We're also seeing severe infant regulatory disorder. His cortisol levels are off the charts. His nervous system has been in crisis mode for hours. Dr. Ross's diagnosis of colic was insufficient. I called Dr. Ross 3 times, Julian says, voice hollow. She told me he was fine. He wasn't fine. He needed intervention. Fortunately, he got it. Dr. Kim looks at Elijah. What method did you use? 432 Hz auditory protocol, parasympathetic activation with rhythmic entrainment. Dr. Kim's eyebrows rise. That's the Martinez protocol. Professor Martinez was my supervisor. You studied under Yolanda Martinez? She's a pioneer. Dr. Kim pulls out a business card, hands it to Elijah. When you finish your degree, call me. We need people like you. Elijah stares at the card, tears welling. I'm not finishing my degree. Why not? Lorraine's voice. We can't afford it. Dr. Kim looks at their uniforms. Understanding crosses her face. She turns to Julian. Mr. Blackwell, this young man diagnosed your son correctly when an experienced pediatrician missed it. He performed cutting-edge intervention. He saved your son's life while you threatened to arrest him. He's gifted. He should be in medical school, not mopping floors. She walks away. Silence. Julian stands and walks to Elijah and Lorraine. They flinch. Julian drops to his knees. I'm sorry, he whispers. I almost let my son die because I was too arrogant to listen, because you were wearing the wrong uniform, because you were the help, and you saved him anyway. Tears stream down his face. What can I do to make this right? Elijah's voice is steady. You can listen. To people like us. To people you think are beneath you. Because we're not. We're just invisible. And we shouldn't be. Julian nods, broken. I'm listening now. I swear I'm listening. 6:47 a.m. Sunrise breaks over Manhattan. Dr. Kim returns. Ethan is stable, no seizure activity. He's sleeping. He'll need 24 to 48 hours monitoring, but he's going to be fine. Julian nearly collapses with relief. Can I see him? Of course. Room 304. Julian starts to walk, then stops. Turns. Can Elijah see him too? Please? Dr. Kim smiles. I think that would be good for both of them. In room 304, Ethan sleeps in a clear bassinet, monitors beeping softly. He looks peaceful. No more crying, no more distress. just a baby, resting. Elijah approaches slowly, touches the bassinet with one finger. "Hey, little man," he whispers. "You scared me." Ethan's tiny hand twitches toward his voice. Julian watches from the doorway. "He knows you. He knows your voice." "Music therapy creates neural bonds," Elijah says quietly. "He'll probably always respond to 432 hertz frequencies now. It's imprinted. So you'll always be part of him." "I guess so." Julian takes a shaky breath. "Dr. Ross called. I fired her. I'm also filing a complaint with the medical board. Her negligence almost killed my son." Elijah nods. "I've also called my lawyer," Julian continues. "Not to press charges against you, God no, to set up something else." "What?" "A scholarship fund, full tuition to Juilliard or any music therapy program you choose, housing, living stipend, medical coverage for your mother, everything you need." Elijah's breath catches. "Mr. Blackwell, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will. Because the world needs you to finish what you started. You're going to save thousands of babies, Elijah, not just mine, and I'm going to make sure nothing stands in your way." Lorraine sobs. Elijah can barely speak. "Why? Why would you do this?" Julian looks at his sleeping son. "Because you gave me the most precious thing in the world, my son's life. And because I was wrong about you, about your mother, about people like you. And I want to spend the rest of my life making that right." He extends his hand. "Deal?" Elijah shakes it. "Deal." 1 week later, the New York Times local section. Headline, "The Maid's Son Who Saved a Life and Sparked a Movement," by Jennifer Hartley. Last week, 19-year-old Elijah Thompson was scrubbing floors in a Manhattan luxury building. Today, he's the subject of a viral movement demanding justice for brilliant young people trapped by poverty. Thompson, a former Juilliard pre-college prodigy who dropped out to care for his mother, saved the infant son of billionaire Julian Blackwell using advanced music therapy techniques, after Blackwell himself dismissed him as just the cleaning boy. The story, which went viral after hospital staff leaked details, has ignited national conversation about class, credibility, and who we listen to. Elijah Thompson represents thousands of gifted young people whose potential is suffocated by economic inequality, says Dr. Yolanda Martinez, Thompson's former professor. He should have been in a concert hall or a hospital, not mopping floors. This is a systemic failure. Blackwell has since established the Invisible Genius Scholarship Fund, with an initial endowment of $50 million, dedicated to students who've had to abandon education due to family medical crises. Elijah stands outside Juilliard's main building, backpack on his shoulders. The morning sun catches the letters carved in stone above the entrance. Professor Martinez emerges, older than he remembers but still sharp-eyed. "Elijah Thompson," she says, "the student who disappeared." "Professor Martinez, I'm sorry, Don't apologize. You did what you had to do." She gestures inside. "Come. We have much to discuss." They walk through familiar halls. Elijah's chest aches with nostalgia. "Your application for readmission was approved," Martinez says. "Full scholarship, as I understand Mr. Blackwell arranged. You'll start next semester." "I don't know if I deserve—" "Deserve?" Martinez stops walking, turns to face him. "Elijah, you performed the Martinez protocol perfectly in a crisis situation with no supervision, no backup, and under threat of arrest. You diagnosed correctly when experienced physicians failed. You saved a life. If you don't deserve to be here, then none of us do." Elijah's eyes fill with tears. "Welcome back," Martinez says gently. "We missed you." Lorraine Thompson no longer works night shifts. Julian Blackwell hired her as Director of Household Operations, a real position with real salary. $120,000 per year, health benefits, retirement plan. But more importantly, she's cancer-free. The treatments Julian's fund paid for worked. She stands in Elijah's new apartment near Juilliard, paid for by the scholarship. Hanging up the last photograph. Elijah at Carnegie Hall, age 12. "Mama," Elijah says, "you didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did." Lorraine smiles. "Because this is who you are. This is who you've always been. And I'm so proud of you." They hug, both crying. "I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Now go change the world." Elijah sits at a piano in a Juilliard practice room. Late afternoon light streams through windows. He looks directly at the camera. "My name is Elijah Thompson. A week ago I was invisible. I wore a uniform that told the world I didn't matter, because I was poor, because I cleaned floors, because I was young, black, and uneducated. But here's the truth. Genius doesn't wear expensive clothes. Brilliance doesn't need a diploma to be real. And the people you ignore, the cleaners, the drivers, the help, they might be the most extraordinary people you'll ever meet." We're not asking for charity. We're asking to be seen. Because somewhere right now, there's another Elijah Thompson, mopping a floor, stocking shelves at 2 a.m., and they have a gift that could save lives, change industries, solve problems you didn't know existed. But you'll never know. Because you're not listening. Because they're wearing the wrong uniform. So here's my challenge. Look at the people you ignore, the waiter, the janitor, the delivery driver. Talk to them, ask their story. Because some of them are geniuses, some are heroes. Some could change your life if you'd stop looking through them. And if you're one of us, the invisible genius, the forgotten prodigy, the person who gave up your dream because you had no choice, don't stop. Don't give up. Your gift is still there. Your story isn't over. Mine wasn't, and neither is yours. He begins to play. Chopin's Nocturne, the piece from Carnegie Hall, the piece that saved a life. If this story moved you, share it. Not for me, but for every invisible genius who needs to know they matter. Comment. Have you ever been invisible? Ever dismissed someone and realized you were wrong? Subscribe for more stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Remember, the hero you're looking for might be wearing a uniform you've trained yourself not to see. Split screen appears. Left, Elijah in cleaning uniform, head down. Right, Elijah at piano, head high. Left fades. Right expands. Text appears. Elijah Thompson, full-time student at Juilliard, music therapy specialization. Lorraine Thompson, cancer-free and thriving. Ethan Blackwell, healthy, happy baby. Invisible Genius Scholarship Fund, 47 students helped. Julian Blackwell learned, humility is priceless. The music continues. Soft, healing, fade to black. #see the invisible, #invisible genius.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.